All right, thank you so much, Say, for that introduction. Thank you so much, everyone. We can take our seats. Thank you. I think I've been introduced enough. My name is Noah Manyere, and I'm so honored to be here again. This is the second time coming to Wisdom City, and I would also want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Chirisa and to honor him and Mama for this opportunity. Thank you so much. So, because of our time, I will not spend much time on the introduction. Like you rightly said, I worked for quite a number of public entities. I worked for ZESA for about 6 years. And before ZESA, I was with the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe, which is now Airports Company of Zimbabwe. And before that, I was with Air Zimbabwe at NHS. So in total, I think I'm coming to about 11 years in public procurement, and I hope we are going to share much information. I hope you're going to benefit from this experience. I've also sat in quite a number of evaluation committees, and I know some of the things that most bidders get wrong, and some of the reasons why they are not winning tenders, and we are going to discuss some of them. The previous time we were here, we spoke about the basic, the documents that you need for you to be able to participate in tenders, and we also mainly spoke about public procurement, public tenders, for the basic reason that the government is the biggest spender in any economy. If you get into any economy, you actually see that the government spends more than any other player for the simple reason that they've got public funds, isn't it? So the government collects public funds from us through taxes, through duties, and so on. So for that reason, we have the government as the biggest player in the economy. So today, I thought maybe it would be good for us to talk about the standard bidding documents, because these are the documents that we get when we want to respond to tenders, isn't it? And we want to actually look at those documents, dissect them, so that we really have an understanding on how to respond to tenders. Because under the standard bidding documents, that's where all instructions are, on how you should respond to a tender. So maybe if we could move to the next slide. Okay, the next one, thank you. All right, so we want to talk about standard bidding documents. I think a lot of us here refer to this document as tender documents, isn't it? This is the term that we are used to, but when we are talking of public procurement, these documents are called the standard bidding documents. And we have got different types of standard bidding documents. We have got standard bidding documents for construction. We've got standard bidding documents for services. We also have got standard bidding documents for supply of goods. Why are they called standard bidding documents? They are called standard bidding documents. Why? Because they are standard throughout. So you actually see that before the introduction of the act that we are using right now, which is the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act. This act was enacted in 2018, January of 2018. Before that act, we used to have different tender documents from different public entities. If you go to ZESA, you get a certain tender document. If you go to NASA, you get a certain tender document. So the whole idea was to standardize the whole process so that we have got the same types of tender documents, and we actually make sure that there is compliance, across the board. So that's why we now have got what we call standard bidding documents. These standard bidding documents, for those who have been doing tenders, these are the documents that you get. Once you see a tender advert in the newspapers, in the Gazette, or on EGP, the next thing is to download the standard bidding documents. Before the introduction of the system that is being used right now, the EGP, by the government, people used to buy these documents, right? You would pay $20, you would pay $10 to get these documents. And some other people were actually arguing to say, it seems as if some companies were actually taking advantage and making sure, fundraising through this channel. But now you actually see that these documents are available free of charge. If you're going to be dealing with the public entities, you just go on EGP, under bulletin board, you can actually download these documents. And remember, from the previous presentation that I made, these documents are actually public documents. So you do not have to have an account for you to access this information. You know, tender documents, flighted tenders, and annual procurement plans, we spoke about them last time. This is free information. So even if you don't want to get into tenders now, maybe you are preparing for 2026, just go on that portal, look at what is being bought, you know, so that you can actually align your plan to exactly what is happening. So you actually see that there's a section where they talk about annual procurement plans, where you can actually go and download those plans and see what the procuring entities are going to buy in the next year. So currently, I'm sure annual procurement plans for 2026 are not yet there, but very soon they will be there. So you can actually utilize that information even if you are not registered. Coming back to the annual procurement plans, to the standard bidding documents, so we can move to the next slide. So the standard bidding documents in Zimbabwe are a crucial tool to standardize the process, the procurement process. And these documents have got three parts. They are very easy, to comprehend and understand. Standard bidding documents have got three parts. The first part is the bidding procedure, right? And the bidding procedure tells you all the required documents for that specific tender. Then the second part is the statement of requirement, which looks at all the exact service or products required for that specific tender. We'll talk about it and break it into different segments so that we understand. Then we also have got part C, which is the contract part, right? So most people usually ask me to say, no, how do we complete part C of the standard bidding document? And you do not have to complete part C of the standard bidding document during the bidding period, during the time when you are preparing the tender. You are actually given part C of the standard bidding document so that you understand the contract that you are going to get into once you have been awarded the tender. So part C is for your information. It has got all the information that you are asking, whether there is an advance payment for this tender, how am I going to be paid, what's the currency that is going to be used. All those questions, you actually find them in part C under the contract. And also you actually find issues to do like liquidated charges. What's going to happen to me if I delay to submit or to provide the services? So we said there are three parts, isn't it? So let's go back to part one. Maybe we can move to the next slide. Let's go back to part one. We said under part one, that's where we find the bidding procedure. This is the answer to how you are going to prepare your bid. Remember last time we spoke about, when we were talking about the requirements for you to be able to participate in public procurement, we spoke about section 28, right, of the Act, where we were actually saying that there are some requirements that are actually put in the Act that each and every company that wants to deal with the government should follow. We spoke about a company that is registered in terms of the Companies Act. We spoke about a company that is tax compliant. We spoke about a company that is contributing to social security, which is NASA certificate. We spoke about the directors of the company not being involved or not being convicted of any criminal offense 5 years prior to the procurement activity, which means if you have been convicted of any criminal offense, you have to wait 5 years, isn't it? Yes, they want to see that you have clearly changed, isn't it? And we spoke about a lot of issues. So you actually see that under part one of the standard bidding document, they are just reiterating these issues that we are talking about, that are highlighted in section 28. And in most cases, the wording of the document is to say, demonstrate eligibility in terms of section 28, subsection 1 and 2 of the Act. So don't be confused with that wording. They are just referring to these documents that I have spoken about. And of course, on top of these documents, they might also want some other documents for what we call due diligence, isn't it? We are talking of documents like your company profile, right? We are talking of documents like, what else? Site visit certificates, if there have been any site visits done. So the procuring entity is also allowed to add other requirements specific to that tender. So if you do not want to fail, if you want to pass or to be awarded a tender, there are two areas that you have to look out for on the standard bidding document. First, go to part 1 and look out for the bidding procedure and list all the documents that are required. Then after that, go to a section which is called evaluation criteria, right? It's usually also under part 1. Why are these two sections important? They are important because they give you a holistic picture of how your bid is going to be evaluated. And mind you, the evaluation criteria cannot be changed once a tender has been advertised. That's why I always argue to say it's very difficult for anyone to actually change or to actually influence the tendering process. A lot of people argue to say, how can we get these tenders? They are already given to some people, we don't stand a chance, but I beg to differ because I've been working also in the government for a long time, and I've seen how this new piece of legislation has actually helped in terms of transparency and fair treatment of bidders. So, after part 1, we then move to part 2. Maybe we can move to the next slide. We then move to part 2. What does part 2 talk about? Part 2 has got some forms that you have to complete. This is where the work starts on your bid preparation journey. Part 2 has got forms like your statement of requirements, your delivery schedule, your technical compliance sheet. What are we talking about here? This is simple. We do not have to be scared of these terms. So the statement of requirement is where you get the actual requirement for the tender. If we want to buy laptops, you actually see us listing the actual product that we want to buy under the statement of requirement. The quantity is also listed under the statement of requirement. So in most cases, previously before the introduction of the EGB system, you also had to respond to complete this form. And even right now, you might be asked to complete this form, which is called the statement of requirement, then you upload it into the system as your response. So how do you complete this form? I'll show you the form very soon, but you actually see that your only job here is to put the unit price and calculate the total cost, because the other columns of this form are already completed for you. Item number, the product description, the quantity, unit of measure, so they just leave the unit price and also the total price for you to calculate. We are going to talk about it very soon at length. Then we also have got what we call the delivery schedule, right? All these forms that I'm talking about, they usually form part of the evaluation criteria. So what it means is, if you do not complete these forms the way you are supposed to complete them, you have been automatically disqualified. You know, evaluation, especially in public procurement or in big NGOs, the evaluation process is a technical process, and you cannot change the evaluation process. It's done in such a way that if we take those same bids and bring them here, and you guys become the evaluation committee, you actually come up with the same winning bidder. That's how technical the process is. So you need to be able to respond to the tender in the way expected so that your bid can be responsive. Evaluation is actually done in most cases in 3 stages, right? First of all, they do the administrative evaluation, where they are looking at the documents that were listed in part 1 under bidding procedure. That's the first stage. The second stage, they are now looking at the technical evaluation, where they are looking at some of the forms that we're talking about here under part 2, especially the technical compliance, because they want to see if your product or service meets the minimum acceptable technical requirements. Then after that, they move to part 3, which is the financial evaluation, where they are looking, of course, at the price. So depending with how they want, are they more inclined to the price, or they are more inclined to the technical part of the product? So you actually see that once you miss it on the first part, which is the administrative evaluation, you have already been disqualified. No matter how good your price is, you're not going to win that tender. So you have to make sure that you get your things right. And you'll be surprised to note that most people lose tenders at the administrative stage, before we even look at the price, before we even look at the technical. So this is where the problem is. You actually see someone submitting a tender with an expired tax clearance. You are just wasting your time, you are wasting your resources and your money if there were fees involved in that process. Because you can't be awarded a tender. You know, they would rather re-advertise if there's no one who is compliant in terms of administrative compliance. They would rather re-advertise that tender because no one has won. So we should take these issues seriously. Right, so under the delivery schedule, you will see that this is where we commit to a specific delivery period. How long are we going to take to actually deliver the goods or deliver the service from the date of being given a purchase order? So under delivery schedule, you have to commit, and you do not have to put the delivery period that you think is okay with you. It's not a matter of guessing, or it's not a matter of completing information that is convenient to you. It's a matter of compliance. So what is the delivery period that you put under delivery schedule? You get it under part 1. So under part 1, there's a section for delivery schedule, which is called delivery schedule, where they actually say the maximum acceptable delivery period is, for example, 14 days or 28 days. So in this case, if they are saying we want a maximum delivery period of 28 days, and then you put 30 days, no matter how good your proposal is, you're going to be disqualified because you are not compliant. If they say they want a delivery period of 14 days and you put 7 days, now you are compliant because you are now within. So this is the information that you have to look out for. So some other people might say, you know what, this delivery period is not practical. I will not be able to deliver. And then they put what they think is right. Mind you, your documents are the ones that are speaking for you. You are not there in the evaluation committee to explain why you have put your days above the maximum delivery schedule. You know, it's just a matter of saying this one is not compliant. Let's just throw it away. So make sure that your document represents you well. Get that information. Now, let's move to the technical compliance. So the technical compliance is very important. This is where the technical evaluation is actually done, right? I always want to give an example of computers, right? So if we want to buy computers, this is where you see us listing the specific technical specifications for that laptop that we want to buy. The screen size, is it 17.5 inches, for example? The RAM, is it 16 gig? It's an example, isn't it? The memory, right? So all the technical specifications, all the minimum acceptable technical specifications, or the range of acceptable specifications are listed under technical compliance, right? So how do you respond to that? Make sure that you respond to each and every technical spec, and make sure that the product that you're offering is within the range or is exactly equal to the one that is listed there. And you actually see that if you want to score more, it's wise for you to also attach a data sheet, right? Don't just give us technical specs from your head, because you are not the manufacturer of that product in most cases, unless if it's a service, right? Or if it's construction. But if you are talking of a product, you are not the manufacturer of that product. So to cement whatever you are saying under the technical specifications, give us a data sheet from the manufacturer, which tells us that, well, what you're actually saying is correct. So this is a very important part of the standard bidding document. Maybe we can move to the next slide. So you actually see that in the standard bidding documents, there are different forms. We have mentioned some of them just now. We have got what we call the bid submission sheet. It's a very important form. We're going to talk about it. We've got what we call the letter of bid. This one is usually found when we are doing what we call framework agreements, because there are different types of tenders. We also have got framework agreements where the procuring entity does not want to keep on going back to the market. They want to have an agreement with specific suppliers, so it can be a multi-supplier framework agreement or a single supplier framework agreement. We also have got the bidder's information form. It's also part of the framework agreement. We also have got the bid declaration form. We'll talk about it. Bid submission, the bid declaration form, statement of requirement, we spoke about it, delivery schedule, and technical compliance. Let's move to the next slide. Right, so I want to talk about a form that you also find in part 2, which is very, very important, which is called the bid submission sheet. If you are asked to submit a tender manually, usually this is the first page of your bid, and it's very, very important. It requires some information like your procurement reference number. Do we know what a procurement reference number is? Are we aware? Okay, so this is what we usually call the tender number, isn't it? So if the tender is for, let's say, tender notice board, it might read TNB/05/2025. That's the tender number. So on the top requirement here, you actually put the procurement reference number. Then after that, you put the subject of procurement, which is the title of procurement, for example, supply and delivery of computers. Then after that, you put the name of bidder. That's your name, the name of your company, right? After that, you put the bidder's reference number, which is your own reference number that you generate to identify this tender, right? So you can actually generate your own reference number there. Then after that, you put the date of bid. Where I want to emphasize is that part, unfortunately, this might be a little bit far for you, but there is a part where they are talking about validity period, bid validity. This is where a lot of people miss it. For the simple reason, which is one, it's easy for you to miss that slot and submit without completing it, because it's within a lot of, within a paragraph. So there is a part where you have to put a bid validity. We spoke last time about a bid validity, and we said this is the time that your bid is going to be valid, right, from the closing date. When we get into our shops, or if we are doing some cash sales, usually if I come into your shop and request for a quotation, you usually say my quotation is valid for 24 hours, isn't it? Or 48 hours, right? But when we are now doing tenders, that is now called a bid validity. How long are you going to keep your terms and conditions and your price after the tender has closed? So bid validity starts from when the tender has what? Closed. Where do you get this bid validity is the biggest question. You don't put a bid validity from your head. You know, people have got a tendency to say, I can't keep my price for 60 days because things might change. Yes, that's a valid argument, isn't it? But is that going to help you to win the tender that you want to win? No, it's not. So if you are dealing with public procurement, remember, I'll always reiterate on that, it's all about compliance. So look into the standard bidding document under part 1, where they talk about the bid validity. They tell you the minimum acceptable bid validity. So they tell you that your bids should be logged for 30 days. That's it. That is exactly what you should put under the bid submission sheet. If you put 20 days, that's an automatic disqualification. If you put 40 days where they want 30 days, you are still compliant, because remember, we are saying this is the minimum acceptable bid validity. But does that give you any added advantage during evaluation? No, it doesn't. You're just compliant. Over compliance, isn't it? Yes. So after that, after your bid validity, you also have to sign the signature box. Make sure that you sign the signature box. If it's not signed, you are not compliant. So this is one of the most important, and you actually see that on every tender, you have to complete this form. It's usually required. So you have to know how to complete it. Let's move to the next slide. Right, we have got a bid declaration form. This one is quite interesting. Why? Because I think I will talk about it more, because very soon we want to talk about a bid security. So this is a commitment that you sign to actually say, I'm committed to the bidding process. Do you know that it's possible for people to actually say, after you've been awarded a tender, some people actually say, the terms are no longer favorable. I'm not going to take part. I'm not going to sign a contract. I'm not going to deliver. It's not allowed in public procurement. And to guard against that, you have to, in most cases, you are asked to sign the bid securing declaration. So we're going to talk about it very soon when we talk about the bid security. I think that's how we can actually understand it. So let's go to the next slide. We spoke about the statement of requirement, isn't it? That's how it looks like. There's a question that usually comes when it comes to putting prices under the statement of requirement. And there's an issue to do with the VAT. And a lot of people argue to say, you know, if I'm registered for VAT, sometimes it looks like I'm more expensive than the person who is not registered for VAT. But what happens is, during evaluation, VAT is removed from your total price if you are registered for VAT. So during evaluation, prices are, during the financial part of evaluation, they are only looking at prices before VAT. Because obviously, for the simple reason that VAT is not your money, isn't it? Even if you are paid VAT, you have to remit to what? To ZIMRA. So prices are evaluated before VAT. So I think I've spoken about the statement of requirement, and this is how it looks like. But you actually see that because of the introduction of the EGP system that is being used right now, most tenders do not require you to complete this form, because they would have already created this form in the system. So you just have to complete it in the system. You know, it's like an embedded Excel. So in most cases, you might not be asked to complete this form. We can move to the next slide. Delivery period requirement, delivery schedule. I think we spoke about it. We want to cover a lot, so I think there's no need for me to reiterate what I've said under delivery schedule, so that at least we can move to the next, because we also want to talk about fees that are involved in tendering, right? Okay, and the letter of bid. The letter of bid is part of the framework agreements. I think I spoke about it and said you only find this form under framework agreements. It's quite easy to complete the letter of bid because it's just a matter. It's a matter of you signing at the end. It's usually a 3-page document with some terms and conditions. So you just need to sign at the end of the letter of bid to confirm that you are in agreement with all these terms under the framework agreement, right? And yeah, I think it would be good for us to also come and talk about, because there is a whole lot of issues to talk about framework agreements as well. Okay, maybe let's write. So now that we know what is required to participate in tenders, the other reason why most people shy away from tenders, especially public tenders, is the issue of the fees that are involved, right? The monies that are paid when you're actually participating in tenders. So this is what we want to look at, and we want to look at how other people are actually managing it, because you actually see that a lot of small to medium enterprises are participating in tenders. You know, some tenders require huge amounts of bid securities, but they are doing it. So we wanted to see how exactly they are going around this requirement, but still staying compliant. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, there's this fee which is called SPOC. I think we have heard about it, isn't it? The Special Procurement Oversight Committee fee. So there's a committee in public procurement which is established in terms of Section 54 of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act. So this committee has got a mandate to review procurements for tenders that are above certain thresholds. You know, of course, based on different classes in procuring entities. So there are some tenders which cannot be concluded only by the procuring entity, which is the company that is flighted a tender. Some of them have to be reviewed by this committee. So let me just give you a brief explanation or background of how it works. So all these government entities that you see, they are classified into different classes. We've got Class A, we've got Class B, and Class C. Obviously, there are a lot of matrices that are involved in actually classification of this. They are looking at the personnel, how qualified the personnel is in terms of procurement, and so on. How qualified are they to handle big procurements? So right now, I want to look at the lowest class, which is Class C. So if a procuring entity is under Class C, it cannot conclude on its own tenders that are above 200,000 for construction. So tenders that are above 200,000 for construction, we have to go to and to be reviewed by the SPOC committee. Tenders that are above 100,000 for goods, they are reviewed by this same committee as well. Tenders that are above 50,000 for services, they have to be reviewed by this committee. So I just have to give this background so that you understand what we are talking about. So who are the people who are involved in this committee? We have got the Attorney General, who is the chairperson of the SPOC committee. We also have the Auditor General, but I think the Auditor General is no longer participating in these committees. I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong, because the argument was she cannot be part of the process that she's going to audit later. So we also have got the Accountant General, Principal Director of Works, PRAS CEO, but the chairperson has got powers to invite anyone that they think should be part of this committee. So if you come across a tender that requires you to pay this fee, in most cases you cannot actually submit this tender before you pay this fee. You should know that the fee is for that reason, is that tender is going to be finalized, or is going to be concluded also, or to be reviewed by this SPOC committee. So we also have a runner fee as well. Let's go to the next slide. We have got what we call a bid security. Some of you guys call it a bid bond. This is another fee that a lot of people are scared of, you know. So to guard against, I remember I said I've also been in procurement, to guard against what we call frivolous bidders or frivolous bids. There are some bids where you see that this bid is too nice, too good to be true. You know, it's way outside the range of other bidders. It's too low, and you even question to say, are they going to deliver at this price when others are actually charging at this price? So some of the people, they participate in tendering without being serious, without considering all other factors, such that when you award them the tender, they end up refusing to sign a contract because it's no longer practical. It doesn't make any business sense for them. So to guard against such people, sometimes procuring entities might say, give us a bid security. It's a commitment into the procurement process, right? And in most cases, a bid security will be refunded back to you. So you're actually given some choices or options for you to respond to the bid security. There is the price option, right? Let's say you have been asked to pay a bid security of 5,000, right? If you choose the price option, you are going to pay 2 fees. You are going to pay the bid security, and also you are going to pay the bid establishment fee, right? That they would have put. So the bid establishment fee is not refundable, but the bid security is refundable, right? So let's say you are going to pay the 5,000, which is the bid security, and then maybe you're going to pay another 350 or another 250, which is the bid establishment fee. What you get back is the bid security fee or the bid bond. When do you get it back, and how do you get it back? You only get it back after the procuring entity is done with the evaluation. They have awarded, and now we have a winning bidder. Then they write to PRAS or whoever is holding that bid security to say, we are done with the process. You can now reverse, or you can now give them back their bid securities. That's the option number 1. We also have got another option, the most common one, which is bank guarantees. So you can actually submit a bid security in the form of a bank guarantee. And that bank guarantee must be issued by a registered commercial bank, right? So you can go to your bank, talk to them, and obviously they are going to charge you a fee for that. Some of them might say, give us the money so that we lock it into your account as security, right? Because the danger is once the procuring entity has claimed a bid security or has forfeited a bid security, there are no questions asked. They just have to pay that bid security, right? So under bank guarantee, this is where we also come into play. He talked about the e-guarantee, that system that we have in partnership with CredSure, because we have actually seen that a lot of bidders are failing to participate in tenders that they would have won because they do not have the amounts that are required for bid security. So we came together with CredSure and 4 other banks, NMB, Bank ABC, NBS, and Medbank. And we actually we launched in February what we call the e-guarantee. This is a platform which allows you to apply for any type of a bank guarantee online, you know, in the comfort of your home or in the comfort of your office. So what happens here, for a bid security that is below 5,000, you only pay a premium of 160 USD, right? And of course, if it's now above 5,000, then you pay a security of 3.5%. So this applies to bid securities, performance bonds, retention bonds. We're going to talk about them very soon. So this is the option that a lot of small to medium enterprises, even big companies, are actually using. The advantage now is the process does not strain you in terms of your working capital. You know, you're just going to put a small premium, then you get your bid security. And there's an option for you to upload the bank guarantee even on EGP. You actually see that on EGP, there's an option for you to upload a bank guarantee. And once you upload a bank guarantee, there's no need for you to pay the establishment fee. So the establishment fee automatically disappears, and then you can move to the next stage. Right, so on that note, Remember when we were talking about the bid securing declaration, I said we want to discuss about this particular form after talking about the bid security. Why? The law allows the procuring entity to charge a bid security that ranges from 0 to 2%. For simple reasons, to say if there was no limit to the amount or to the percentage of a bid security, it can be used to lower competition, because a bid security can also be used to lower competition, where a procuring entity might, if the bid security is too high, you might lose legitimate bidders because they do not have money to pay for that bid security. So there's a limit, which is 2%. So where a procuring entity does not want to charge any money in terms of bid security, they are going to use a bid securing declaration. So in this case, they've selected 0 as the percentage. So what does the bid securing declaration say? What are you committing to when you sign the bid securing declaration? You are actually saying, I'm committed to the procurement process. And if during the evaluation period, if I withdraw my bid, you can actually debar me. I can be debarred. There's what we call debarment, where you can be banned from participating in public procurement for a certain period of time. Or you can be sued, right? So you are saying, I'm committed to this process. If I withdraw the bid, if I withdraw my bid during evaluation, you can debar me. Or if I'm awarded a tender, then I refuse to sign a contract, provided I'm still within the bid validity period. You can also debar me. You can see that there's a provision that I have put there, isn't it? Yes. It's a different story when a bid validity has lapsed. Let's say they said the bid validity should be 30 days, and then they took more than 30 days to finalize the contract or the evaluation. And now they want you to sign a contract after those 30 days. We have got a legal leeway to actually say, I will not sign this contract because my bid validity has lapsed. So that's why there's this condition that I'm talking about, to say, provided we are still within the bid validity period. So this is where the bid submission, the bid securing declaration comes into play. Let's move to the next financial instrument. So we also have what we call advance payment bank guarantees, right? Most people want to deal with tenders where they are paid in advance, isn't it? Unfortunately, that's not the reality. In most tenders, they want you to submit first the products, then you are paid after. Or they can do what we call progress payments. These are payments where you are paid in stages, especially in construction. This is what is done. You do the foundation first, it's inspected, it's approved, then you are paid for that part. We go to the next stage, which is maybe the walls. You do them, it's approved, and then you are paid, right? But when it comes to supply of goods, in most cases, they want you to first submit the products, and then they pay you. Some will actually say we pay you 30 days after invoicing. But there are some cases where they can allow or they can agree, because after you've been awarded a tender, you actually do what we call a contract negotiation. You can actually negotiate for an advance payment. So if the funds are available, they might agree to pay you in advance. But they are not allowed to pay you in advance without you giving them an advance payment bank guarantee. For the simple reason of, because there is a risk that you might be paid and then you fail to deliver, right? Soon after payment, you go and deposit a house in Borodale, isn't it? Yeah? Without making a payment, without providing the services that is required. So, to guard against that, they need you to submit an advance payment guarantee. What does this mean? It means that if you default or if you don't submit the products that are required, then they're just going to go to that person who is holding that guarantee, that bank, and claim that money, no questions asked. Yes. So this is meant, it's a tool that is meant to guard against losses of public funds, right? So where do you get this? Unfortunately for this one, you have got only one option. You have to get it from a commercial bank. And like I said earlier on, you can actually apply for this advance payment bank guarantee on our system. So on our system, you can apply for a bid security, you can apply for a performance bond, you can apply for an advance payment bank guarantee. So you can actually get this one. Also depending with your relationship with your bank, you can go to your bank, talk to them, and they can actually give you some terms and write this advance payment bank guarantee for you. All right, I hope we now understand what an advance payment bank guarantee is all about. Let's move to another financial instrument. We also have what we call a performance bond. Remember when we were talking about standard bidding documents, we said there are three parts, right? And we said the third part number 3, is the contract. So under part number 3, which is the contract, this is where you find issues like performance bond as a requirement. And in most cases, the performance bond that is required is 10% of the estimated value. So it's not always that a performance bond is required, but in most cases, it might be required. What does this mean? It's a guarantee that protects the procuring entity against non-performance by a bidder. So we have awarded you the tender. Now we want you to give us a guarantee of maybe 10% to say, okay, I'm good for this job, I'm going to perform, and I'm sure I'm going to perform. This is my guarantee from a third party who is a commercial bank. Right? So if you do not perform as expected, that 10% might be forfeited, and it's going to be used to clean up your mess, right? So let's say it's a contract for 100,000. Obviously, the performance guarantee is going to be 10,000, right? Assuming it's 10%. Does it mean that I have to go with the 10,000 before I start the project? No, that's not what we are talking about. We are saying we want a guarantee that covers 10,000. So you can go to your bank, they charge you a fee, and then they give you a guarantee. It's a letter, a bank guarantee that says, we are sure that this bidder is going to perform. So if anything goes wrong, we are willing to pay the 10,000, right? So you can also apply for this on our e-guarantee platform, right? So this is what we call a performance guarantee. A performance guarantee is not required. A performance guarantee, an advance payment guarantee, is not required during the bidding period. It's only required after you have won a tender. It's required from the winning bidder, right? So this is what a performance guarantee is all about. Right, we can move to the next one. We also have a retention guarantee or a retention bond. So for those who are into construction, I think you guys might be aware of this guarantee or this bond. After you have constructed, you are done with the project, maybe you are constructing a classroom, usually people enter into what we call a retention period. It might be 3 years, it might be 5 years. A retention period is the period after the commissioning of the project. And we are saying during this period, there should not be any defaults, right, or defects, right? What it means is if you are sure that you constructed according to standards, according to the right standards, your building should stand without any defects for the next 5 years. So how then do we guard against any defects during this period? the procuring entity might say, instead of paying you the whole 100% of the amount that we are supposed to pay you, we are going to withhold maybe, for example, 5% from your invoice for the period for the period of the retention period. If anything happens during that 5 years, we are going to use that money to repair those defects. But you might say, I want that money, it's part of my profit, so I want you to pay me in full. In that case, the procuring entity will then say, all right, give us a retention bank guarantee or a retention bond. So if you want us to pay the full amount, someone else should guarantee that if we find defects, we can claim money to repair these defects. So that's the retention bank guarantee or the retention bond. That's the whole purpose of this requirement. But in most cases, for supply of goods, it doesn't really apply. It's most common in construction tenders. Right, let's look at the other one. I think this one is the final one. We have got the contract administration fee. Usually this is paid by the winning bidder, but that requirement would have been stated in the standard bidding document to say, you should commit that you will be able to pay a contract admin fee once you have been awarded a tender. So this requirement can also be used as part of the evaluation criteria, which means if you do not commit, where a contract administration fee is required for a winning bidder, if you do not commit to pay this fee, you might be disqualified. So go through the standard bidding document. Usually in part 1, this is where you find this requirement. If it's there, make sure that you commit that you're going to sign the contract administration fee. So this is money that is paid to PRAS for the administration of the contract. And usually it's not a lot of money. We're talking of around maybe 150, depending with the size of the project. But you have to commit that you are going to be able to pay this amount once you have been awarded a tender. All right, we can move to the next one. All right, so say, I don't know, through you, if there are any questions on what we have been discussing, I think we can give, yes.
Come on, one more time. Let's put our hands together for him. All right, so I believe we do have our roaming mics in the house. I see one over there and another one over there. So this is what we are going to do. If you have a question, please just raise your hand and then a mic will come to you and then you direct the question to him and then he will revert with the answer. So the questions, let's have them. And contributions as well. Questions and contributions. All right, I see a question over there.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Tofara and I'm a software engineer and I'm based in Abu Dhabi, but I came for holiday. So I wanted to ask, like, how popular are tenders and procurement in the software area? Like websites, applications, and stuff like that. Do you usually see that or it's not very popular? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. You said Tofara, isn't it? Tofara, okay. Thank you so much, sir, for that question. You know what, you'll be surprised that there are quite a lot of tenders and RFQs in software development, quite a lot. Like I said earlier on, you do not need to pay anything to actually get this information. It's public information. So right now, even if you go on egp.org.gov, or just Google EGP's platform. If you go on bulletin board, there is also a category that is specific to software development. And then you filter based on that category. You'll be surprised at the number of tenders that have to do with software development. Quite a lot of them, and there's actually big business for you if you are into that field. You can actually benefit a lot. And you actually see that there is also a drive to promote local businesses as well. Yes, there is what we call domestic preferences. So you actually see that most of the tenders that are flighted are usually domestic tenders. They are tenders that are flighted to actually support local companies, right? And there have been a draft, I don't know if it was approved as yet, that was tabled before Parliament to try and make the rule more strict, and because Section 28 of the Act actually said domestic tenders are companies that are registered in Zimbabwe, but they are now advocating to tighten it so that it becomes companies that are owned by Zimbabweans, right? So there is actually big business for local companies when it comes to tendering, especially public procurement.
All right, I believe you were answered. All right, I'll take a few more, maybe 3 or 4 contributions or questions. Mshona ukuthi ananga asina pane pausina kunzwisisa, you raise your hand wova wabvunza pamati zvakati handa kunzwisisa pakati. I see a hand over there.
Thank you. My first contribution is to really thank the Tender Notice Board. I'm one person who registered for that, and in as much as I haven't managed to get tenders from there, but I'm always receiving emails. I think 3 to 4 emails per day with a list of tenders I qualify for. So I think that platform is really good for us. My question is, we were talking about tenders in the public sector. How different is the process when it comes to the private sector and the NGOs? Is it the same process or there are differences there?
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. I didn't get your name.
I'm Molly.
Molly.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that question, and also for the compliment about Tender Notice Board. We also try to put a lot of NGOs and public tenders. So unlike the EGP system, which is solely for government tenders, we also have put private and NGO tenders on Tender Notice Board. So for those who want to participate on private and NGO tenders, you can also take part by registering on Tender Notice Board. Then coming to your question about the difference between public procurement and private or NGO tenders. So the difference now is with public procurement, there is actually a legislation, there is actually a piece of law that governs the relationship between the procuring entity and the bidders, which is the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act. Of course, there are also some other statutory instruments, SI 5 of 2018, SI 192 of 2019, and so on. So the relationship is well defined within a law, but the principle of the process is almost the same with public procurement and with NGOs and private companies. Because remember, why are we talking about these processes? We are talking about these processes because in public procurement, they are using public funds. We are talking about these processes because in NGOs, they are using donor funds. So the whole idea is to encourage competitiveness, 1, is to encourage transparency, 2, is to encourage fair treatment of bidders. So the principles of procurement are actually the same. What only differs is that in public procurement, it's well defined, it has got thresholds in place. But once you master bid preparation, even in public procurement, it's going to be very easy for you to respond to a tender on quantum, for example, for UNDP. Because you now understand the basics, bid validity, what does it mean? Because the whole process, the whole issue is to make sure that there is transparency in the whole process. So even if you see a private company doing the tendering process, they want to make sure that there's a transparency and fair treatment of bidders. You'll be surprised to note that even the reforms that we're talking about right now that were done in public procurement, they were also done through the help of the World Bank. And most of the reforms, some big NGOs, they also take up or withhold some of these values that we're talking about in public procurement. So the whole process is to the most important thing is to understand the process. Once you understand the process, you can delve into public procurement, you can delve into NGO tenders without any problem. I hope I've answered you, Molly.
A follow-up question.
Yes.
I've come across tenders wherein they request for referrals for past works done, specifically works that were awarded via tenders. So how best can starters be helped when you really want to participate, but you don't have any referral?
All right, thank you so much. I usually get that question every time when I present. And you see, what I encourage people to do when they are starting, especially this issue of tendering, I don't encourage people to start with big projects. Remember, I think last time we spoke about different types of procurements. We said we've got what we call the competitive bidding, which is the actual tenders that you are referring to. And we also have requests for quotations, which are the RFQs. And in most cases, requests for quotations are small procurements, which do not require much in terms of references and so on. So you then start with those small projects, right? I've been doing tenders for a long time, but in most cases, they are not specific to say, give us references that you got through tenders. In most cases, they want references from works, similar works previously done. So if you've done an RFQ, then request for a reference from that procuring entity as soon as possible, despite of the value, right? And then the other problem that most people face is they want to request for these references once they've got a tender lined up and that tender is about to close. The honest truth is you won't get that reference on time. So have a file for reference for each and every company that you have dealt with, whether it's a small requirement or it's a big requirement. Get a reference and put it in place. I hope I've answered you there.
All right, thank you very much. Checking the last question or contribution.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Shoko. I wanted to ask, in terms of the experience that you would have acquired, let's say there are works that I've done, but I wasn't registered yet. When I'm creating now my portfolio, or when I'm now trying to give my references, does it then mean I can still use them? Are they still valid, or they are no longer valid?
So can you come again?
Okay, so I'm asking, let's say I'm an individual or I'm a company now registered, but there are works that I've done before I was registered, and maybe I'm now tendering for something. Can I use the experience that I got before I was registered? Is it counted?
All right, that's quite an interesting question. So I think legally, experience that can be documented or through a reference is experience that you have acquired from operations after the company has been registered, right? So now it all depends now on your relationship with whoever you did the work for. If you have got a very good relationship and they are willing to recommend you, that new company, based on the experience that they have had with you, even before the company was registered, you can still get a reference. Because a reference does not mean that it's not written on the day when the work is done. You can have a reference for something that you did a year ago today. So now it depends with the relationship that you have with whoever you're dealing with. You can actually get a reference and use it under your portfolio without any problem. Okay, thank you.
All right, I believe you answered as well. We still have 3 minutes. I'll take a burning one before I close the question and answer. Burning one, is anyone burning in the house? Burning question or contribution? If not, I would kindly ask our media to flight our QR code. I'll kindly scan the code and fill in the empty spaces. You're kindly advised to give a genuine response as well on whether the workshop was helpful for you, if it was good or excellent, or otherwise you can. But I believe we've learned a lot from SBD, the letter of bid, security bonds, advance payment guarantee, performance bond, and retention bonds, and so on and so on. There were a lot of takeaways from today's service, but you can always learn and more and more. Like they say, the more you learn is the more you will earn. And if you like to earn in tenders, you better start in investing in learning in tenders, right? Thank you very much. Now, if you have done what the QR code requires, ladies and gentlemen, please do note that this will not be our last Market Plus seminar, but let's give our hands together. Let's put our hands together to our guests.